Buffalo Bills wide receiver Cole Beasley still refuses to take the vaccine even after the new mandated rule procedure the NFL put in place a few days ago. All coming up on today's edition of the Bills Mafia Report. Bills Mafia, you have no idea how much I am looking forward to training camp, so I don't need to be making these videos of these most ridiculous topics on the face of the planet. I did not want to cover this, but it is so important that I feel like I need to. You read the title of that video correctly. The NFL just ended up launching a particular set of rules that is set to punish teams that have unvaccinated players. We're going to dive into that specifically and, more importantly, exactly what Cole Beasley had to say about this. I think this is the third occurrence. He's probably one of the most outspoken people in the NFL against taking the vaccine. So we're really going to dissect all of this, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the entire situation. Before I dive into any of that, just one quick announcement. As always, smash the ever-living out of that like button. Without further ado, let's move on. So yesterday, Bills Mafia, the NFL came out and really put a death nail into all of the players in the league that are refusing to get vaccinated by essentially polling, if you don't get vaccinated, you have the chance of over your team. And the NFL ended up outlining the rule like this. If a game is canceled and cannot be rescheduled with the current 18 weeks scheduled due to COVID outbreak, neither team's players will receive their weekly paragraph 5 salary. A game could be canceled and the infected team forfeits, takes the loss for playoff seeding, and the team could face additional sanctions if protocols were violated. Now, obviously, we knew that the NFL earlier during the offseason was trying to encourage vaccination as much as possible. Some players are going on ahead and hitting their social medias and encouraging it. Some are sending out subtweets to other players on the team, really not only causing a public controversy, but at the end of the day, probably creating some type of toxicity across various locker rooms in the NFL. We know that Cole Beasley has been an advocate for not taking it, going as far as going on these Twitter tirades of saying, hey, this isn't for me. So once that rule got passed, Cole Beasley started trending on Twitter before he even said a damn thing, until finally he ended up tweeting out this: "Nothing has changed. I'm still living my life freely." So it's clear as day that Cole Beasley is sticking to his guns, because that was only 2 days after he ended up going on another tirade, and where he was essentially trolling everybody that has been in his Twitter mentions for the past couple of months. On the 20th, just 2 days before that rule ended up getting passed, he said, "I'll get vaccinated and be an advocate for it if Pfizer puts a percentage of its earnings from the vaccine in my wife's name." Now, was this a troll job? Yes. Was it objectively funny? Yes, it was. But a lot of people didn't think so, including Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban ended up responding to him saying, "Hey, I'll tell you what, I'll buy you a bunch of shares. They give out a 3.75 dividend, and I'll put that in your wife's name for you." I mean, really just, it's a clusterfuck. It really, really is. Now, believe it or not, Cole Beasley is not the only person who is standing up against this. Somebody that doesn't believe that it's necessary. And that other player just so happens to be DeAndre Hopkins, in my opinion, one of the best wide receivers in the entire league. So it's not Cole Beasley by himself, but it's also several other star players at the end of the day. Now, my thought process is this, and y'all know that I'm not one to really put my 2 cents in with controversial topics like this, because number one, I really don't like straying away from any type of football news. I keep politics out of everything. The rule the NFL put in place kind of doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I understand the importance of vaccinations. I mean, I'm vaccinated, right? But I feel like the punishments, they should have applied those exact same punishments last year at the exact same time. You're telling me that a team like the Tennessee Titans can blatantly practice while they knew somebody had COVID during the 2020 season, and they get their game pushed back 3 times, no forfeiture whatsoever. I'm not necessarily saying that I don't agree with the rule. I do, but I just think that it should have been applied in the first place rather than trying to use it as a mechanism to coerce somebody into doing something that they don't want to do. That's my thought process. I mean, I understand, don't get me wrong. If we forfeit a game this year due to an unvaccinated player, I'm going to be ripping my hair out. I'm going to be very, very upset. But at the end of the day, who knows how the NFL is going to move forward with this. I have a feeling that if Cole Beasley, especially DeAndre Hopkins, some other big names start coming out about this, saying, hey, I'm feeling coerced into doing something that I don't want to do, they might retract. They might step back and maybe work some reschedules here. Now, most of these teams, most reports are is that the vast majority of all rosters are vaccinated, and there's only a couple of other people that need to. So when it comes down to it, this is insane. And like I said, I am ready for just regular football news because I hate covering off-season topics, especially in this year of July, because there's nothing to talk about besides bullshit like this. So do me a favor, leave a comment. I understand that this is a controversial topic, but go on ahead and leave a comment. What are your thoughts on this entire process? Would really love to hear that. Guys, training camp's starting up soon. I am ready, and be on the lookout for a training camp primer here within the next couple of days. But thank you so much for tuning in to yet another edition of the Bills Mafia Report. And before I let you go, always remember, let's go Buffalo.